Bogans Breakdown.
Bam. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys are enjoying the NBA Finals so far. Welcome to the inaugural edition of the Bogans Breakdown Podcast, featuring your host, the man of the hour, the 14-year NBA veteran, Mr. Keith Bogans.
Hey, happy to be here to get this first episode started and up on the road. We're going to break down, like the name says, Bogans Breakdown. We're going to get into all different types of topics, sports, a little bit of everything. And I'm just excited to get this thing going and have you guys on board.
Bam. So a very exciting episode. Our first 3 episodes that we have planned for you guys. It's going to be all about the NBA Finals. And we'll go past Game 3 because we know we're at least going to Game 4. We're hoping for a Game 5. Bogey's hoping for 7.
Definitely a
at
Game
least.
5.
But, I too want a Game 5. Even though I'm representing here, Celtics, wicked smart. What do you think of this shirt, Keith?
I know what I'll do with that. No, it's a nice shirt.
It's a nice shirt. It's a nice shirt.
It's a nice shirt, man. Nice shirt.
So, we'd be remiss to ask. We're talking about Game 1 of the NBA Finals, Boston Celtics versus Dallas Mavericks. We're recording tonight is Game 3. We're going to be covering Game 1 and 2 in 2 episodes, and we'll be recording Game 3 after. So we're going to give you the whole rundown, Keith's vantage point of the series, with some good defensive breakdowns and some insights that we wouldn't hear elsewhere. But for me, especially as a Boston fan, I think I'd be remiss to mention the fact that Keith spent some time at the end of his career in Boston, and it was a part of one of the most, some people say, controversial. I see some people say it was the worst trade ever. If you're a Boston fans, they say it's one of the best trades ever, right? But at the end of the day, it was that infamous trade back, was it 2013? When the Celtics shipped off Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett to the Brooklyn Nets for a package of players that included Keith, included Kris Humphries. Who was the other dude with the green socks?
Marshawn Brooks.
Marshawn Brooks in his green socks, right, at the press conference, right?
Yep.
And there was one other person in that trade, too, wasn't there?
Kris Humphries, Marshawn Brooks, Gerald Wallace.
Yes.
Gerald Wallace.
So,
Gerald Wallace.
And then, the big thing, obviously, was the draft picks, right? So that was why Boston really did it. And Brooklyn was trying to get a splash. They got to, Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. Pierce, nobody thought would ever leave the Celtics, right?
Right.
But he did, because they were in a rebuilding mode at that point, and they wanted to give him an opportunity to still compete towards the end of his career. So, so just give us your thoughts on that whole thing. We're going to do a whole episode on that eventually, because there's so much there. But tell us about, just going through that.
Well, going through, that was when getting traded from Brooklyn to Boston, actually that was the first year that the Nets moved from New Jersey to Brooklyn. So I got to play that first year in Brooklyn with all the hype.
Barclays Center.
You got Jay-Z, Beyonce.
He was always there every game, there.
Right? So that was a lot of fun, just transitioning from New Jersey to New York. So the following year is when the trade comes. But I get hurt. I got hurt the year before that. What benefited me, a lot of people don't know this, is if you get hurt in the NBA and you come back and you play a full season, your bird rights can kick in. So
the bird rights, yeah.
Bird rights, that's pretty much
it can get confusing for a lot of fans trying to follow the trading rules of the NBA.
So one of the interesting things, this is something that I learned in the NBA. So I got hurt probably, I think it was the lockout year. I get hurt, I signed a contract. Avery Johnson was the coach in New Jersey at the time. I come in for a workout. We work out for probably 10 or 15 minutes. He said, we got a game on the road in Indiana. When we come back, we're going to sign you. I played 2 games. I break my ankle. Kris Humphries, I always blame Hump for this, but broke my ankle. Hump, you know why I broke my ankle. But I played 2 games, and they asked me to stick around in Brooklyn. I mean, at the time, it was New Jersey, to rehab, and we still practice in Jersey. So I stuck around. They had to cut me, but I still was able to use the rehab because they had to use the roster spot. So I got cut so they could bring in someone else to fill that roster spot. So I stayed in New Jersey. I worked out, went to the facility, everything I had to do to get back. So I come back the following year, the team moves to Brooklyn. So I didn't know if I come back and I play a full year without getting hurt again, my bird rights will kick in. That means
So that was a surprise to you.
that was a surprise, but I
Wow.
still didn't know. I'm just happy to be in the NBA playing.
Yeah.
So I remember Billy King calls me in and he says to me, this trade doesn't go through. Your contract is the only contract to make this trade go through with Boston. But previously I played a full season without getting hurt the first year in Brooklyn.
And that's what activates the
That's
bird
what
rights.
activates my bird rights. So being hurt, playing a full season without getting hurt, now I qualified for the bird rights. So because of the bird rights, I was on like a vet minimum. So that made the numbers for Kevin and Paul to come to Brooklyn and for us to get shipped to Boston. So I remember, rest in peace, my agent at the time, Dan Fagan. Dan called me and he's like, I got a deal. I'm like, well, what's the deal? And he explains the deal to me and I'm like, how many years? And he says, I'm like, where's the paperwork? Send me the fucking paperwork. So he sends it, I sign it, and that's how I ended up in Boston. And I mean, it was kind of a blessing come true. I mean, I wanted to go and play basketball for as long as I could, but I didn't think that I would end up in Boston the way that I did, and I didn't get to play, so I wasn't happy about that. But speaking of the draft picks that we got traded for, I think those draft picks we're watching some of that happen.
Well, we are.
We're
I mean, it's Jayson Tatum.
Some trades and stuff, it happens right away. But this is one of those things where a lot of people didn't pay attention to what Boston was doing at the time. They were rebuilding. They were getting rid of all the older guys, and they were going younger. And I think throughout that process, I mean, it's been some years, but that's what it takes to change what they were trying to do. And I think at this point now, we can all see with that trade how it impacted the team and where the team is now.
Well, and that's the super interesting part to me is because you think about how it went down. When the trade first happened, who do you remember them saying was the winners and the losers? Do you remember them saying Brooklyn gave up too much then at that point, or did it seem more like Boston was just trying to get out of these contracts at that time?
Well, I think at the time, Boston was. I mean, it both helped each other out because Boston was trying to go younger, start the rebuilding process, and Brooklyn needed big names. So
yeah.
I think
they just had the new stadium.
Yeah, got the new stadium. You bring in Paul and Kevin. I mean, come on, I'm Keith Bogans. You got Marshawn Brooks. Gerald and Hump. They're big name guys, but you bringing in some guys that they're big hitters. You had Paul. You had Kevin. They gonna bring the fans into the arena. I mean, let's be honest. So
yeah,
I think, and then once you get to Boston, and they were older guys. Like, and you hear the stories of how they were trying to rebuild, and they got exactly what they wanted. And I think Brooklyn got what they wanted too. I think both sides kind of balanced out.
Yeah. Now, and that was right before that. Doc Rivers had just left, I think, Boston.
Yep.
And that was Brad Stevens' first year. Now he's in the front office. I think that was his first coaching year. Now he's in the front office there. So a lot has changed. Obviously, that's 10 years ago now. Just
10
about,
years ago.
right? Isn't that incredible? That's how long it was?
That just goes to show, like I said, sometimes a trade is made. People expect the trade to happen and benefit from it right away.
We're talking about a trade that panned out.
I think
years in the making.
They saw, you get rid of the older guys. It's going to take time to rebuild, and I think we're seeing a bunch of teams do that over the years since Boston started that. I mean, other teams did it a long time ago, but you look at Boston, like I said, they're in the finals now, and some of those picks that they picked back then are playing in the finals right now.
So let me ask you this, then. We'll wrap up the trade conversation. Could you have stopped the trade from happening? If you was there any
crazy.
say that you had in this?
Like I said, like my agent at the time, who's no longer with us, rest in peace. He told me if I didn't, my numbers were the only numbers that would make the contract.
That matched up the contract.
And it favored me. I mean, I quadrupled my salary, so I'm crazy not to sign it. So I just immediately, signed it and, moved on to Boston.
So you got that. They got their deal. Now, all these years later, we're talking about them in the finals here. And we're launching our podcast during the finals.
Absolutely. Having a lot of fun watching.
So, all right. So the score, we'll start with the score. Game 1, Boston did pull it out, 107-89. What was your opening thoughts going into the game? Give us your thoughts overall the season that Boston had and Dallas.
Well, I feel like Boston, they kind of walked into the finals.
Oh, yeah.
Dallas had a great season also. So to me, the first, home court advantage. Whenever you go, like on the road, it's the same way. But when you have home court advantage, the series doesn't start until you lose the home game. So I felt like Boston did exactly what they're supposed to do. If Dallas comes in and steals a game, good for Dallas. But I don't think you're walking into Boston and you're just going to steal a game that easy. I mean, you got some of the best fans in the world. I mean, they got a great team. They're playing well right now. So what Boston did to me is exactly what they're supposed to do. So you get game 1, you come in, the emotions are high. Everybody's, hyped up. You got to settle down. You got to play through the jitterbugs. And that's a lot that I don't think people realize, the pressure. The lights don't get brighter. It's just the pressure that's on. And you want to do well, and it's a lot of media coverage. It's a lot of hype. It's a lot of pressure. And these guys, with the social media now, too. We didn't have to deal with that when we played. But, you got to you're trying to do the best that you can. And it's a lot of pressure. So
when we think about, Boston had a couple injuries going into the series, right? They had Porzingis, he was hurt going into game 1, so a lot of questions about how he was going to perform, and he actually came out phenomenal out of game 1, out of the gate. What did you think of his performance?
Oh man, I'm a Kristaps fan. I actually got to work with him a little bit when I was coaching the Knicks. He works hard. People talk a lot, but I've had a chance to be around him. He's a hard-working guy. He comes in, puts the work in. I think it was the year he was hurt and I was coaching the G League. He would interrupt our practices sometimes.
Oh, yeah?
And he would have his music on and be down there shooting. And, of course, at the time, it was the D League. And we're down here shooting. And I'm looking at Coach like, you going to go say something to him? And we would just, he would shoot on the other end, music blasting, but we didn't mind.
Funny.
He was a star player of the Knicks at the time.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm a fan of his, and the way he showed up and played, it doesn't surprise me at all. He's a pro's pro, and when you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. So he just proved that he stayed ready the whole time. We knew he was hurt, but I'm pretty sure he was still working.
Yeah, no, he put in some work, and it was almost like he was playing possum to a degree too, right? Because there's that air of uncertainty, like, oh, how's he gonna do? And he just came out like a cannon.
Well, when you're 7 foot and as skilled as he is, you can probably play possum sometimes. The guy, he's so skilled and so talented.
Yeah, no, he's crazy, and now he's dealing with his injury, but we'll see how he turns up here in Game 3. So, the Celtics, strong defensive performance in Game 1. They led as much by 29 points at one point. Dallas was able to cut it down into the single digits by the time they got to the third quarter, but they just could not complete the comeback. Boston's defense was just phenomenal that day. What do you got to say about the defense?
Well, I can touch on the defense all day. I'm a defensive guy. Boston plays great defense. Holiday's one of my favorite players when it comes to playing on the defensive end. And he can also play on the offense.
He's one of my favorite players, too, because of his first name.
Yeah, Drew.
Drew. Like, if I could change the spelling on my name, I would do that.
I bet.
Drew.
I bet. But, the way they play defense, if you watch on some of the breakdown when they break it, it's Kyrie and Luka trying to go one-on-one, and they have a wall built every time. You're going to see 2 or 3 guys. And every play that I watch, these guys, and they were great one-on-one players. But, the way Boston, they've done a great game plan of watching these guys and knowing how to keep them playing in the crowd. They're giving them no room to operate. And if I was Boston, I would do the same thing. You got 2 guys that can operate one-on-one, can score on anybody in the league. You have to let those guys see multiple bodies, and I think that's what Boston is doing. They'll beat one guy, it's another guy, and the other guy's still pursuing. So they got 2 to 3 guys on them at one time, and it's hard for them to make a play.
Yeah, it's they had him. They held Luka to 1 assist, which was a postseason career low for him. So what adjustments do you think Luka's got to make?
Well,
for the rest of the series?
I think to me, I think we got to with Dallas, it's got to be more ball movement. You're playing into Boston's hands if you're trying to go one-on-one because they're a great defensive team. They're not shifting. You're not making them move. You have to make a team like Boston move around. You got to move the pieces. If they can just sit and lock in on the ball, you're not going to score on them. So I think some of the adjustment, like Dallas has to move the basketball. It can't be one-on-one basketball against a team like Boston. They're too good defensively. They got guys that can guard, and if you beat the guy that's guarding you, they're great help defenders too. So the game plan for me, I think for Dallas, is to move the basketball. It's going to be hard to play one-on-one basketball. Luka and Kyrie are great offensive basketball players, but to beat a team in a series, the microscope is on you. And we're going to take these 2 guys out and make someone else beat us, and I think that's what Boston is focusing on. Because a guy like Luka and Kyrie are used to getting 30, 40 a night, easy. You make a guy that's not used to getting 30 or 40 a night, he can do it one night, but can he do it consecutive nights? And he's not used to doing that. A guy can come out and give you 30 one night. Might give you 20 the next time, but to consistently do that like they can do it, I'd rather make someone else do it like Boston.
Right. Now, I was thinking about what you said earlier about the a series doesn't start until the home team loses, right? And I had never heard that until you mentioned that to me during the last game when we were watching. But when I heard it, it made a ton of sense because really, if everybody wins their home game, then you get to Game 7, right?
Right.
But then at that point, it comes down to home field advantage at that point,
advantage.
Right? So when you're on the other side of the equation, so if you're in Dallas's position, right? I'm assuming the guys on the Dallas team know the same thing you know, which is the series don't start until the home team loses, right?
Right.
So what's their mentality then going into an NBA Finals, knowing they don't have that advantage, they have to steal one on the road?
So it's a mentality that you have in the regular season. And playing, I forgot which older coach. It might have been even Doc when I first started. The philosophy was in the regular season, you win as many games, you hold home court down. You don't want to lose any home games. And you steal as many as you can on the road. Same mentality for the playoffs. So if I'm playing at home, I'm going to hold my home court advantage. So Dallas, to me, is lucky if they go into Boston and steal a game because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to hold down your home court. So in my eyes, if I'm Boston and Dallas is coming to us, I got to win both these games at home. Now, if I lose one game, my back is against the wall. Now I got to go to Dallas. They got 2 games at home. Yeah. So we lose 2 games, now we come back down. And you don't want that. So 2 here, we go to Dallas. Now we got to see what Dallas. Boston did their job. Now it's Dallas going to do their job.
Looking at some of the individual performances in Game 1, Jaylen Brown, one of the guys that got traded with you in that deal, right? Years down the line, right? He had 22 points, led Boston in scoring, and I think that's a good example right there of a well-rounded team, right? If
these guys are all playing together, it's like night and day the way Boston moves the ball and the way Dallas moves the ball. They're playing together. I always joke and say that, because you're a Boston fan. I played there. To watch the culture in Boston and to know what happens there. They're playing Boston basketball together. Nobody's going to take and just go one-on-one. These guys play. They move the ball. One guy's a star one night. The next guy may be the star the next night. It just keeps going around.
They, it reminds me of, you remember that Rick Pitino? You remember Rick Pitino? When he coached Boston for a little bit, right?
Right.
And he had that saying when they were in the shits, right? Before Pierce, I think, got drafted even. And he was like, Larry Bird's not walking through that door. Kevin McHale's not walking through that door, right? Like, he's just saying, like, hey, there ain't anybody like that here no more, right? And there are superstars on Boston, but to your point, man, it's just a well-rounded team. It's a deep, deep bench, and the coaches are first-year coach, right? So Joe Mazzulla.
Well, I think the term I would use for Boston's team is, I mean, they definitely got a bunch of superstars, but they just selfless. They don't care who gets the credit. They get beat up in the media sometimes. They get bashed, but they still come back and they keep fighting. I give them that.
It seemed like that was a little bit of maybe a Dallas strategy, with the media, just in terms of trying to get some.
Come on, Jay Kidd's a vet. He knows everything to do.
Trying to get some tension between.
That's a vet. I call that a vet.
Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Super vet move on Jay Kidd's part. I would have did it. I'm trying to I'm gonna stir him up. I'm gonna try to get those guys playing well right now over there. I'm gonna throw the whole sink at them.
Yeah, and it started at the last series. Yep. Even they were asking them at the post game conferences and just trying to stir the shit up, but it doesn't look like it's working so far. How about Kyrie? So Kyrie got a very cold response. I always like Kyrie, even as a Boston fan. I still like Kyrie. I know he said some crazy stuff. I have a theory on why Boston fans especially don't like Kyrie. And it's because Boston's got all the universities and stuff out there, so everybody's super smart. And when you have somebody like Kyrie that's going to say some crazy shit like the earth is flat, then those academic types, they get real tightened up and they don't want to hear that, right? So I think that's kind of why Kyrie gets it a little worse in Boston than most places, but always a good ball player. Now he's back in Boston on the other side of it. So what do you think about his performance so far?
Oh, man, great. I think he's one of the best ball handlers I've probably ever seen with the ball, and the finisher at the basket. I think Boston fans are tough on him, with his time there. I don't know everything, that happened, but I always say because he stomped on Lucky. I think because he stumped Lucky.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did. Yeah. But he left Boston then, right?
Yeah,
he left,
he
right?
was already gone.
Yeah,
but I think,
to
add injury to insult, he stomped on Lucky.
Yeah,
the Boston fans, Lucky's the, I don't know how to put it, but stomp on Lucky. So he's going to be forever the bad guy.
Yeah, he probably riled up some OG Celtics with that too.
Absolutely. But as far as a basketball player and what he does on the floor, he's amazing to watch. I think he's gonna be great to watch this whole series. He's gonna turn around. He's gonna give us some nights where we're just gonna be like, damn, what did I just watch? Because he's that good of a basketball player.
Yeah. What's your favorite Kyrie Irving moment?
Well, anytime I see him with the ball, just one-on-one, you just know you're going to get something that you haven't seen before. So, like, he's a wizard. Like, when we were young, we said he got the ball like it's like a yo-yo. Like, he dribbles the ball almost like a yo-yo. So,
yeah,
it's fun to watch. So, he's just fun to watch to me.
Yeah. How many years has he been in the league now?
Shit, I don't know. It's been a while now.
Yeah.
These guys are veterans now.
It's been a while since he was in Boston, I feel like.
Yeah, I remember when he first came in, and still remember those days. And to watch him now and how better he's gotten every year. It's just, he's one of those guys that works at his craft, and he almost got that, like, Kobe mentality. He just keeps getting better, and he puts the work in.
Well, that's like Kobe's hallmark, right? Was just the work.
The work.
That you were telling me a story about Disney, right? Kobe.
Oh, yeah.
You want to tell that?
Oh, yeah. You want to talk about that right now?
Sure, why not?
Oh, yeah,
you invoke Kobe, so might as well give a Kobe story.
I was playing for the Magic and went to the gym one morning early. And saw him in there. I was like, what the hell is Kobe doing here? And equipment manager's
He's at the Magic training
equipment manager's like, yo, he takes his daughter. He's in town with his daughter at Disney, but he comes here at 5 to get a workout in. And that's when I was like, at what time? Like 5 a.m. And I'm like, I'm a rookie. At this time, I'm a rookie, and I'm not even thinking about getting up at 5 a.m., coming in, not let alone being on vacation with my kids, because I don't have, like, my son's a baby at this time, but I'm like, he's on vacation. You know how much energy it takes to walk around Disney World?
Oh, my God.
But he's up at 5 to get a full workout in and then go to Disney World, and he would do that, they said, every morning that he was there. Every morning.
And that's the work ethic. That's the difference between
that's what
a Kobe and anybody else.
That's what it takes. I mean, to be that good, I mean, you're going to have to outwork everybody. It doesn't happen just because it happened.
Right.
You got to put the work in.
You got to put the work in. I got a couple of questions for, talking about playing in the arenas. Well, once we get to Game 3 and we're back in Dallas, we'll talk a little bit about playing at American Airlines. But we have 2 games in Boston. Let's start, and we'll hold the second one for our next episode. But tell us, give us something about being a visitor in Boston, and
you got your pluses and your minuses.
Okay.
Because I've been on both sides of the ball in Boston. I've been a visitor and I've been on the home team. So, as a visitor, when you come in, I mean, you get to come in, and it's 9 times out of 10, it's probably going to be cold. I mean, right now in the finals, it's warm, but usually when you play in Boston, it's cold. You go get you some good food, right on Boylston Street somewhere.
Boylston Street, yeah.
Yeah, Boylston Street.
Where would you go on Boylston Street?
I had a few. I mean, back in the day, all the older vets would we would go to Abe and Louie's. All the vet spots. It would be like a cigar bar over there somewhere.
Yep.
All the OG spots. I don't know what they have there now, but
a lot of them closed during COVID, unfortunately.
I heard.
It was super sad because you don't think of this stuff, but that whole area is dependent on sports.
Oh.
I mean, it's just nuts, right?
Never seen nothing like it until you go down there.
So COVID happened. They didn't get the marathon. They couldn't do the marathon that year. That's like their Black Friday, if we're talking retail, right? That's their day, right? And so they lost that. They weren't getting sports games. They weren't getting Fenway crowds or any of that stuff. Celtics crowd, none of that.
Nothing.
So unfortunately, a lot of those places went under on Boylston Street, and they really got to, somebody's got to come in and reopen these spots up because a lot of them aren't coming back, unfortunately. So
unfortunately, but yeah, we would go there, get a nice bite to eat, and then you go back, you hang out at the hotel. Or I don't know what you did after you got something to eat, but then the next day, I mean, you would interact with the fans, of course, and the hotel staff. I mean, we know them because we would see them all the time.
And the hotel staff, everybody has a Boston accent, right?
Everybody.
I've lost mine, but I'll say wicked smart.
Yeah. Everybody has that accent, and you're either from north or south. I forget. It's been a while.
North Shore and South Shore.
Yeah, you're either from North Shore or South Shore. But the fans are always when you out in the public. I mean, they're fun to interact with. They're gonna talk some shit. They might laugh and joke, but it's all fun. But when you get to that arena, I mean, the fans it's not fun and games.
No.
No, I would want that crowd behind me as opposed to in front of me every day. I mean, playing in Boston and playing against Boston, you can really tell the difference.
Yeah.
It's just like night and day.
Yeah. What was your relationship with, if any, with the media in Boston?
The media?
Yeah, the sports media.
Well,
did anybody give you a hard time there?
No, nobody ever gave me a hard time. I think
there's a bunch of jerks there.
I think I did an interview one time, and I didn't do the interview the way I think they wanted it to, and the interview never came out.
They never aired it.
I mean, I think they thought, because I was always a competitor looking back. I just never was satisfied with watching. I always wanted to play. And the interview was about the trade, I think, and I was like, I didn't come here to sit. They were asking me.
Wanted to play.
I wanted to play, and every question that they asked me.
I actually think I read this.
There was
an article on Yahoo or something that I found recently.
Every question that they asked me was about me not playing, and I gave them an opposite answer of what they expected, and that interview never came out. Yeah. I think that's the only time I interacted, but I've always been good with the media because I know one thing. They have to do a job, and they have to write a story, so you just got to always keep that in mind when you're dealing with the media.
Yeah?
Yep.
All right, so I want to bring back to this bird rights conversation that you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, because I still think there's a lot of questions that people have, because as a sports fan, I had never heard of anything like this in any sport. And when you said bird rights, first thing I thought about was Larry, Larry Bird, right? And we just started looking it up, and it is named after Larry.
I mean, shit. I don't know of any other bird that they would fucking name it after. So, shit. I always figured it was Larry Bird. So it's good to know.
It is named after Larry.
Definitely good to know.
And using our friend ChatGPT, which this podcast is brought to you by ChatGPT. Not yet, but one day it will be. So we asked you. I said, hey, explain NBA bird rights to us here, and there's different types. It's kind of funny, actually. Did you know there's early bird rights?
No, I did not.
I thought it sounds funny. Early bird. So there's full bird rights, and it seems like that's what you had, right? So in order to get that eligibility, a player must have played for 3 consecutive seasons with the same team or have been traded without their contract being terminated. So that was you. You were with Brooklyn for 3 years.
Right.
So that's how you were able to get that.
Yeah.
I wonder how that came about. Like, with Larry, did they make an exception for Larry, I guess?
I'm pretty sure we looked it up. It's got to be some history on there.
So it says NBA bird rights are a provision in the NBA salary cap rules that allow teams to exceed the salary cap to re-sign their own free agents. Named after number 33, the great Larry Bird, the rights were designed to help teams retain their star players. So...
Well, I don't think I was a star, but they retained me, so it worked out.
Hey, it worked out, though, right? Then you have early bird rights, which is fun. A player must have played for 2 consecutive seasons with the same team or have been traded without their contract being terminated. And
that's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
I was early bird, I think.
Okay, so the early bird, the team can offer a contract starting at up to 175% of the player's previous salary.
Yes.
Or 104.5% of the league average salary, whichever is greater.
Yes.
You need like a damn MBA to understand NBA bird rights. And then there's non-bird rights, which non-bird rights, a player must have played for 1 season with the same team or have been traded without their contract being terminated. The team can offer a contract starting at up to 120% of the player's previous salary.
Sounds about right.
So, so that's the bird rights. And examples of bird rights in actions, can you think of any outside of your own?
I only know about mine. I couldn't tell you. You can give me some. It's going to be new to me.
LeBron James.
Oh, wow.
2014 Cleveland Cavaliers. When LeBron returned to Cleveland, he signed short-term deals to maximize his earnings potential. Eventually, he used his bird rights to sign a longer-term, higher-value contract with the Cavs.
Nice.
And then the second one is a Maverick.
Who's that?
Who's like the most well-known Mav?
Dirk. Oh.
Dirk Nowitzki consistently re-signed with the Mavericks using his bird rights. Like that was his
way to stay. It's just to stay there. Can't go anywhere. I mean, smart move on his part.
You know, and I guess so. The benefit to the team is it allows the team to still build around their players.
I guess.
So.
Well, mine was for injury purposes, not star player purposes. Get it right.
Sorry. Well, hey, look, it all worked out at the end of the day. If I can do anything this NBA Finals, I just want Boston fans to appreciate Keith Bogans for accepting that trade to go through. Fans, if it didn't go through, Celtics aren't in the finals right now.
I don't want to take any credit for that.
I'm giving you the credit. I'm giving you.
I was just 10 years.
A smidge of credit.
10 years ago, I think I was. I wasn't too elated about the trade, but I mean, it definitely helped me out. I mean, going to Boston, going through some things that didn't work out my way. So I look back now as being older and out of the league. It was a big learning experience for me. The whole trade and. It's a job. You're supposed to look at it as a job. But I just love being in Brooklyn and playing for New York. So, I mean, that's where it kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah. In Boston and New York, not very compatible.
Not compatible at all. Not compatible. We're the Knicks, not compatible with the Knicks. I think Brooklyn's a little better relationship than
Brooklyn
New
is a
York's.
little bit better.
Yeah, I would say the Knicks in Boston, nah. Brooklyn and Boston, it's a little better
A
relationship.
little off topic, but Nets in New Jersey versus Nets in Brooklyn. Obviously, you preferred Nets in Brooklyn. What took them so long? I mean, why did they even,
Well, I mean, so I coached in New York and I played in Boston. A lot of New Yorkers, don't take this, I don't want to get my New York people mad, but they say it's no tradition at the gym, like in the Barclays Center. And the Garden, of course, has all the tradition.
MSG. Madison Square Garden.
Everything. So when you talk New York basketball, and it's always gonna separate it. It's because of the Garden.
Yeah.
The Garden has so much history. The Knicks have been New York.
The first WrestleMania was at the Garden.
I knew something. I mean,
and the 10th and the 20th.
Yeah. So most New York fans are. I mean, all they knew is New York Knicks basketball, and just like Boston fans. So now this new team comes along. I mean, they still get the hate from New York, but not as much as the New York Knicks.
I'm not gonna lie. I wanted the Knicks to play Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals because I think it was the 50-year anniversary of the last time they played in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think they would have needed security in the arena, outside. It would have been. I mean,
it would have been more entertaining.
It would have been
Indiana,
definitely entertaining. I mean, those two, that would have been fun to watch. Dallas is fun to watch, but New York versus Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals.
That would have been so fun.
It would have been new news every single day.
Yeah,
every day.
It would have been good. All right, so I think we're gonna wrap it up here with this. Any last thoughts on Game 1?
Well, like I said, Boston did what they were supposed to do. Let's see what happens in this next game and see if Boston takes care of business again, because to me, Boston's supposed to win both games at home. And if they do lose a game, then they didn't take care of business in my book. So I'm looking for Boston. I know I joke with you all the time because I say I'm Dallas, you Boston. But in the real scheme of things, Boston should win both home games. They're already taking care of Game 1. They still got to take care of Game 2, and we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. All right, so we'll be checking in with you next, Episode 2, Game 2 of the 2024 NBA Finals. I'm Drew Venskis.
Keith Bogans.
Bogans Breakdown, Episode 1 in the bag. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to share, subscribe to the channels. It's interesting doing this content thing and podcasting, all this other stuff. A lot of people like to say, oh, hey, I heard about the podcast. I love it, right? But I didn't see you like it on YouTube. I didn't see you like it on Instagram. So we need no fake fans, please.
Hit that like button.
We need people to hit the like, share, subscribe buttons on every channel, every platform. Show some love. That's how you send love in the digital age. You don't tell somebody you love them. You subscribe.
Or push that like button.
Push it. All right. Peace.